All right, so thank you guys for joining this presentation today. Essentially, the purpose of today is to update you guys on the tax preparation industry. Just give you some tips and tricks on how to be successful in this industry, opportunities available at the firm, and as far as long as next steps. Before we start or get into anything, we'd just like to go over a few housekeeping items. So the one thing is you can always feel free to contribute at any time. If you have any questions, comments, anything, there's two ways to contribute. You can essentially just, shout out your question or comment, or there's also a chat box. There's a chat feature in join.me that allows you to ask any question you want. One thing we do ask is if you're not talking or currently speaking, we do ask that if you can mute yourself, that would be great. And then once you're ready to talk, you would just unmute yourself, and then we can, get to your question. We always say 5 to 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So there will be a formal Q&A in case you want to save all your questions for later. If you want to do that, my advice is to write your question down and then just go along with it, or you can just ask it as we're going through. So with that being said, let's just get started with the presentation. Hope you guys enjoy. So our agenda today is we'll be talking about the firm. So what is Badu Tax Services? What are we made up of, and things of that nature. We'll also go into the tax preparation industry. So we'll talk about the industry in a very in-depth sense. We'll talk about some opportunities available at the firm, how we pay our folks. If you're interested in pursuing a tax preparation career or a tax preparation position, how you would be able to get started. Tax season is right around the corner. We only have about 2 months or so to go. And then we'll, throughout the presentation, Q&A. And then we'll also go through if we do have some time, we'll go through a quick 1040, just a very brief demonstration. We usually don't have enough time for that, but we may have some time to go through that. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and go into about the firm. So a little bit about the firm. Badu Tax Services, LLC, is a tax firm that specializes in tax preparation, planning, and representation services for individuals and businesses across the U.S. We essentially service clients. So every single state right now we service a client in, and we're also in 6 different countries as far as client service. We're always expanding every single day. Mission is to really help people maximize their financial security. That's why the firm was created to begin with. And then the firm is owned by myself, so I'm the 100% owner of the company. Now, the firm there's 4 competitive advantages in the firm. The first one is that we offer a very convenient way to file taxes. So everything is done virtually, basically. 95% of my clients work with me virtually. So we have secure portal for you to drop in documents. We have, a mobile app. We use something called the Drake Tax software. That's the tax software that we use, and also Gruntworks for really getting the tax data into the system. So we utilize industry-leading technology to provide efficient and effective tax services. And then we also have things like centralized processes. We have a call center. We use virtual assistants. Second competitive advantage is the fact that we have a lot of longevity. The average age of someone in the firm is about 29 years old. Me, myself, I'm currently 27 years old as of 2019. So very young firm, and we're going to be here forever because we've taught people how to run the firm. We've taught people everything that I know, I teach it to everybody else. We have about 21 people in the firm currently, and next year we're expanding to, we're adding 40 more people next year, which is very powerful. So there's a lot of longevity The average age for an accountant or CPA is about 60 years old. That's a bit scary for somebody to walk into somebody's office and they're 60 years old, about to approach retirement. Well, how can you establish a long-term relationship with that person? So we really we take that longevity very serious. That was actually one of the reasons why we got in the industry, was to calm the nerves of people who were tired of working with the older CPAs, who were about to retire. They were dying off, getting sick. I get so many new clients every year because their accountant is literally dying. So you got, convenience, longevity. We also provide a lot of education. Number one reason why the firm was created was to educate people, and that's where the financial security component comes in. We send out a monthly newsletter. We have articles. We have videos, blogs, vlogs, even books, things of that nature to help educate our clients. We always pride ourselves when it comes to educating and empowering our clients. And then last but not least, we have access to a lot of resources, access to a lot of professionals. Some things we do in-house. For example, I'm also a financial coach. I also run and operate a life insurance agency. So any service that a client needs, we can basically offer it to that client. So we have a very large network of people that can help service our clients, including attorneys, mortgage brokers, realtors. Anybody a client needs, we can easily refer them, and we would be happy, or we'd be satisfied because we vetted this person and we know that they're good people to work with. So those are the 4 competitive advantages of the firm. We have industry-leading marketing tools, so we can teach you how to market to a way where clients are coming in like clockwork, basically. We go through marketing training. This week, for example, we went through a marketing training on Yelp. So on Monday, we went through a marketing training on how to properly advertise on Yelp, and just in general, how to win clients and how to keep clients. We talked about return on investment, as far as marketing and things of that nature. So we pride ourselves on education. We educate our folks a lot. So not only do we educate our clients, but we educate our people. The 21 people in the company, excluding myself, we educate a lot. Before you even join the firm, you actually have to go through about 10 hours of training before you even become contracted with the firm. You go through 10 hours of training, go through about 6 hours of preparing tax returns, just sample tax returns into the tax software. And then also you go through continuous education. We have a training once a month during slow season. Once the year starts, there's a training once a week. You're not required to attend any of these trainings. It's just highly encouraged for you to get your education up to date when it comes to taxes. So this is an industry where you need to get educated. And the companies such as the H&R Blocks and the Jackson Hewitt, they're just not doing it. We've seen that as a weakness, and as any smart man would do, is don't just learn from the goodness of what people do. Also learn from their mistakes. So we're learning from the mistakes of others in order to capitalize on that. So education is very important when it comes to the firm. It's something that we truly pride ourselves upon. Now, let's talk a little bit about the tax preparation industry. So this industry report, we pull a report through a site called IBIS World. The firm, fortunately, has free access to IBIS World reports. So IBIS World is a research site that gives you industry data. So the August 2019 IBIS World report revealed that the tax preparation industry is an $11.3 billion industry, meaning that revenues that come in, the opportunity to earn money, is up to $11.3 billion. So if you were to own 100% of this industry, you would be making $11.3 billion. So just something to keep in mind with that. And then it's a 3.4% annual growth rate from 2014 through 2019. And then from 2019 to 2024, there's expected to be a decrease in growth rate. The reason why is because a lot of these accountants are actually retiring. So it's not necessarily that more clients are walking in the door, but it's simply because, more people are retiring. So it's an opportunity for new people to get into the industry. So this growth rate is referring to client growth rate, not necessarily people coming in growth rate. A lot of accountants are retiring. I can tell you that right now. A lot of CPAs are retiring because of the fact that there's new laws that just came out with the new tax reform. People are getting old in general, so it's an opportunity for the younger folks to get in and really take advantage of this industry. It's dominated by companies such as H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, and TurboTax are Intuit. As a secret, I actually own shares in H&R Block and Intuit. So I'm actually an investor in my competitors. Why do I do that? Because someday I plan to acquire these companies. Whenever that day is, hey, we're planning a pretty big operation here. This is not, a small thing that we're doing. This is something big. We're looking to impact a lot of people in the world. And in order to do that, we need a pretty big team. I'm all about team. I'm all about training. I'm all about empowering people and giving them what they need in order to get the job done. Now, one thing is there are plenty of flaws with some of these companies. For example, H&R Block stuck in leases that they can't get out of, so they are forced to be brick and mortar. They have to be brick and mortar, and that costs money. And when this costs money, it also translates to the client. So now the client has to suck up that cost. So that's why you might hear sometimes that a client might complain that H&R Block is charging too much for taxes. So that's a flaw. And hey, remember, learn from your competitors' mistakes. We said, okay, why not just be an online or virtual company? You don't have to have an office nowadays to do taxes, not at all. 95% of my clients do this thing virtually. We have a secure portal that they drop their documents into. Our tax prep software is all digital. They don't even have to sign any documents anymore, or physically sign any documents. Everything is electronically submitted. You can meet with the client virtual, Zoom call, whatever it is, and you're able to get the taxes done. So you don't have to have an office to be successful in this industry. And to prove to you, our firm doesn't currently have a big brick and mortar office at all. We used to, but we don't anymore. There are some people in the firm that decided to have offices, because maybe they got it for free, or maybe they just prefer it. But most of our folks are working from home. They're 100% remote. They're not even meeting with their clients anymore. They're just getting the documents, through our portals and our systems, and they're preparing the taxes, sending it back to the client and getting paid. So if you're brick and mortar in this industry, a lot of these folks are going bankrupt. I had a guy come to me this year. He said his accountant got his documents in January and was supposed to prepare the taxes by April 15th. He comes by in April, and there's a close sign, or there's basically another company that's there now because that person went out of business. Now it's not typical, but you will see a lot of these folks. Think about the same thing with retail, Sears, Sports Authority. All these companies are going bankrupt because of the whole brick and mortar. Brick and mortar is not a thing anymore. Chase is shutting down branches now. Brick and mortar is just going away, and it's the same thing in this industry. I knew this 9 years ago when I looked at the IBIS World Report in 2010, and 2019 report says the same exact thing. If you're brick and mortar, you're going to suffer because nobody's coming into the offices anymore. They're simply looking to do their taxes virtually. So let me just take a step back really quick, just a pause to see if anyone has any questions. For those joining in, thank you for tuning in. If you feel like you missed anything, this will be recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube channel. You can simply search my name, Jeff Adu, and you'll be able to find it. We'll leave 5 to 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. This is meant to go until about 8 o'clock Central. But be more than happy to take any questions as we're going through this presentation. I know sometimes some of these things can have some questions. If you want to save your questions for the end, please feel free. 2 ways to ask questions. You can simply unmute yourself, or you can just talk. And then also you can type into the chat box as well. All right. So moving along, let's just talk about some career opportunities available at the firm. So we talked about the firm itself. We talked about the tax prep industry. And by the way, one thing that I meant to do was also introduce who I am. So sometimes when I go through presentations, I literally forget to introduce myself. So the person speaking now is Jeff Badu. I'm a licensed CPA, a licensed certified public accountant. I'm a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. I own and operate several businesses, 11 to be exact. And my number one company is Badu Tax Services, which is part of my enterprise, Badu Enterprises, LLC. And what I help people do is I help empower them financially. I teach money, I preach money, I do everything money related in order to help somebody with their financial life. Love what I do, and I have a pretty big team of people that I teach exactly what I do too. So the firm has been around for about 3 years now. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for 3 years. Been doing taxes since 2010. That's when I first started, back in freshman year in college. So that's just a little bit about me. Now let's talk about opportunities available at the firm specifically. So you have the opportunity to become an independent contractor with the firm. Those are the roles that are open right now. We're opening up to 40 people total for 2019. And it's a lifetime role, meaning that you can leave at any time, you can stay as long as you want. This firm will be here forever. So an independent contractor role, the ability to work from home. You don't have to be in an office. You don't have to work certain hours. It's 100% independent. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything I tell you. I would highly advise that whatever I tell you and I guide you and I say, hey, maybe you should do this, it probably might be best to do it. If I tell you you should be marketing through these channels, it might be beneficial because I've learned some of the mistakes. I've wasted marketing dollars before, and I know where the marketing dollars should be going in order to get you clients. You get to manage and operate your own clients. So if you get a client, that's your client, you managing it. You're doing a tax return, you're getting the payment, you're doing everything with that client. So you get to manage your own clients. You receive training and back office support. So before you join the firm, you have to go through 10 hours of training. But you always get access to me. I give you training, all that good stuff. You get your own business cards. So once you join the firm, you get about 500 business cards up front. And then, entrepreneurship coaching. We're not just here to teach you about taxes. We're here to teach you about how to run a business. And then if you are involved in other businesses or would like to be, which I highly recommend, such as life insurance, credit repair. I run a life insurance company and a credit repair company because these clients need these services. So I'll teach you how to leverage those businesses and how to really capitalize and maximize profits when it comes to those businesses. Some of these businesses, you don't need a license. You simply need to be appointed or signed up through the company. You also get to choose your own tax software. That one we don't really do anymore, but most people use the Drake Tax, but you do have the option to use, we call it Intuit Pro Tax Online, which are both cloud-based softwares, meaning you don't have to be in any office or anything. You can be anywhere. You can be doing taxes from Jamaica. You can be doing taxes from the Philippines, Thailand, wherever you are. You can be doing people's taxes. That's why we have clients in 6 countries at the moment. So just wanted to point that out, an opportunity to become an independent contractor. Eventually, we have some folks that are almost at the partner level, meaning that not only are they a contractor and get their own clients, but now they're dedicated partners of the firm where we're doing some really big stuff. We have somebody on the team now who's getting government contracts in Wisconsin, and he's building a base in Wisconsin now. So that's his team. He runs it, and his compensation is a lot higher than somebody who's, doing taxes for clients. So he's truly a strategic partner of the firm. And we're doing some pretty big things together. So anybody that there's an opportunity to do that, to really take this business to the next level. But if, you're just getting started, fine being an independent contractor, doing taxes for people, you're getting paid, that's perfectly fine. Hey, no shame in that. That's how everybody starts. That's how I got started. I just was doing taxes, and then it expanded into much bigger things. So let's talk about compensation a little bit. Compensation structure is very simple. You get to keep 70% of the tax prep fees in the first year. So if you do a client's tax return and the client pays you $100, you get to keep $70. Really simple. Firm keeps $30 just to handle administrative costs, training fees, things of that nature, because there is a cost for us. There's no cost to you. We basically give you a firm for free, where you get to, you essentially get to, you don't have to pay for the software. You don't have to pay for your first set of business cards. You don't have to pay for your first set of marketing materials. You can get a business up and running for free. When I started back in 2010, I didn't have any of this. Nobody came up to me and says, hey, I can help you build a firm or help you build a business where you don't have to put in really anything. You can just run it. For me, I had to live and learn, make mistakes. It took me $5,000 to start this firm, because I went out, acquired my own software, acquired my own marketing techniques. I acquired everything. Nobody was there to really teach me taxes. I actually learned how to do taxes on YouTube. YouTube is actually what taught me how to do taxes. So we're providing you a whole lot of value, and all that we're saying is you don't have to pay. You don't have to pay anything up front per se. As far as once you join the firm, we'll give you everything you need. Go out and do whatever you got to do, and every dollar you make, you get to keep 75% of that dollar. I'm sorry, 70%. Now, in your second year, you get to keep up to 85%. So 75%, everybody who's in their second year in the firm gets to keep 75%. Firm keeps 25%. Now, if you are what's called a super performer, and we do have a few in the firm right now, a super performer gets to keep 85% of your revenue, meaning the firm only keeps 15%. So if you do a tax return for $100, you get to keep $85 of that. It's pretty high. Just go ask H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt. They'll give you something much, much lower. Even your first year, second year, third year, much, much lower than this 85% we're talking about. So a super performer is somebody who has at least 25 clients in their first year. They're really hustling. There's somebody who's a mover and a shaker. They can demonstrate the ability to run their own business with limited support. Basically, they can figure things out if you give them the tools necessary. And then you have to have credentials. So CPA or certified public accountant, EA, enrolled agent, or a licensed attorney. As long as you have one of those three, you can fall into the category. We highly encourage, we actually pay you in your second year and beyond. If you want to pursue one of these things, we actually pay for it for you. And you would have the ability to offer other lines of services or other lines of tax services, such as tax representation. In order to do that, you have to be a CPA, EA. And then last but not least, you can also prepare business returns, which are a lot more money than the individual 1040 personal returns. Tax prep fees you can expect to charge a client in your first year is $150 to $1,000. I'm proud to say that I have a client that pays about $5,000 just for the tax return alone, every single year. So it's an opportunity to make a lot of money with very little cost. There's really the only thing you might have to pay for in the firm is maybe marketing. That's about it. Let's say you decide to print out flyers or you decided to run a campaign or something. That's all you got to pay for. Everything else, the software, of course, you got to get a computer. You don't have to have an office or anything like that. You're getting the business for free, basically. And then for our undergraduate college students, we usually do a 50% discount. One thing about this firm is you get to dictate the price. So if you're like, screw this, I think these prices are too high, then by all means you can charge lower. Just know that you're going to keep, lower money. And then I have some heavy hitters in the firm who are charging way more than what you see on the screen. Which is perfectly fine too. I would say just don't go overboard. We do have a price guideline. So we advise that you use the price guideline because these are market rates, things that we've tested, and they usually work pretty well with clients. So we'll give you everything you need. You don't have to reinvent any wheel. Everything has been done for you. I've spent the time and energy to create a lot of these things already. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. Now, as far as if you're like, okay, well, you told me all these great things about the firm. I'm interested in possibly pursuing a career with the company. His requirements is you don't necessarily have to be a tax expert, but you do have to have some type of genuine and learn about taxes, or have some type of prior tax knowledge, even if you just know the name of a form. Like, we don't take you through any tests or any quizzes or anything like that. So anybody can join. We've had people join that knew nothing about taxes, but they were so hungry to the point where we were willing to teach them everything. The 10-hour training that you go through before you join a firm teaches you everything you need to know about taxes as far as getting started. So you don't need to have the knowledge per se, but we do recommend that you have some type of tax knowledge. It's preferred that you are credentialed because then you get to do other things. So it's preferred that you have a TPA, EA, or an attorney, although it's not necessary. Everybody in the firm has to go through a background check, and then you have to demonstrate a willingness and a hunger to learn. That's the key here is if you're willing to, sacrifice your time and learn everything, you're going to build a very successful business. You can do this part-time. You can do this full-time. We have some people that are doing this full-time. A lot of people in the firm are actually now doing this full-time because the opportunity is so great for them that they're like, you know what, I get to do this. Their profit margin is so high to the point where they can do this full-time, still pay their bills, still live the lifestyle they want, all that good stuff. Only thing we do ask up front is a $100 enrollment fee. And if you're like, you know what, I really don't have $100 but I'm looking to get started, we'll just take it out of your first commission check. So if you're like, I really don't have this 100, I'm just looking to get started, hey, well, no money down. I'm a real estate guy. I'm a real estate investor. I believe in no money down. We'll do a no money down deal where you put no money down, but it just $100 just gets taken out of your first commission check. And what that covers really is your background check, your first set of business cards. You'll get 500 business cards. You'll get some marketing materials. And then you also get an email address that you get to maintain with the firm. So, this $100 is covering a lot. We're not just talking, hey, just pay $100 just for nothing. We're talking $100 seed money or investment in order to get your business going. We'll provide you everything you need when it comes to that. And so if you're interested, if you're like, okay, what are the next steps? These are the steps that you would go through. You would set up some sort of follow-up call, or you would send a follow-up email. My email address is jb@badutaxservices.com. Once again, jb@badutaxservices.com. I'll put it in the chat box as well. You can email me, text me, call me, do whatever saying, hey, I'm interested, And then what I would do is I would send you the 10-hour basic tax training. It's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. So 10 hours of free tax training. If all you got out of this was a tax training, then hey, so be it. But it's free, 100% free. I would send you the link, the login credentials and all that. You go through it. Once you're done, you say, hey, I'm ready. I would send you the $100, invoice. You pay the $100 invoice. You go through a background check. And then if you pass the background check, you would get an independent contractor agreement. Once you sign that agreement, then you get access to the firm's internal resources, including more training, practice tax returns, things of that nature. And then you would get a prepared tax identification number, which is also free with the IRS. You would go through more advanced training, and then you begin marketing and making money. We make it very, very simple. You get access to the team. We have 21 people that you can have access to outside of myself. I'm always accessible, so you'll have access to me as well. I'll teach you. If you've never done taxes before, I can teach you how to start something from the ground up, because I built this business from the ground up. So what I'm doing is I'm providing a platform for people to start a tax business while not really having anything. Or even if you're the utmost experienced and you're like, hey, I'm just looking to merge with somebody, that's perfectly fine as well. So with that being said, let's just go through some questions. We won't go through the tax training because I think that, it's usually best to save that for the folks that really want to get into this. So with that being said, any questions or anything, thank you guys for joining. It means a lot when everybody's able to join. But we'll open up the floor for any questions, comments, or anything of that nature.
Hey, Jeff, it's Kenny.
Hey, Kenny, what's up?
Hey, so question I have is, would a CPA or EA be required for someone that wanted to not only help with individual taxes, but also business taxes?
No, you do not need to be a CPA or EA or anything to prepare business taxes.
Okay, good news. Yeah, I have my master's in accounting and credentials, but don't know if I want to sit for the CPA yet.
Got it. Yeah, you don't need any credentials to provide any of these services except for tax representation. That one you need to be licensed and credentialed just because of the IRS rules and regulations. There's higher standards required basically to represent somebody in front of the IRS. But yeah, I mean, you can do business returns, personal returns without any license whatsoever.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you for answering the question swiftly.
Yes, sir, no problem. Anyone else have any questions? And to ask a question, you can, speak the question, or you can also put it in the chat box. We also have a chat box in here. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Jeff, what's the profit margins on your structure for the tax business?
I mean, I would say your profit margin in reality is going to be 70%. Because the thing, so profit margin, true profit margin is 70% in your first year, because all you're required to pay for in your first year is you're not really, outside of the enrollment fee and all that, you're not required to pay anything except for the 30% that you're paying to the firm. So if you think about it, you don't have any other costs unless you're marketing or you're doing other things. Your profit margin is going to be 70%. As far as return on investment, it's going to be infinite because you basically started the business with nothing in. Like, remember, we do no money down deals over here. You started the business with nothing, and you can earn. So let's just use an example right here, where you had a client that you did a tax return. They paid you $150. That's our base rate. The $150, you made 70% of that. That's $105 that you just made, right? And you didn't put in any costs whatsoever. So essentially, 105 divided by 150, of course, is 70%. So that's your profit margin. Now, return on investment. Let's just say that all you pay was your enrollment fee of $100. One tax return would have gotten you, out of your enrollment fee. So 150 divided by 100 is 1.5 times 100 is 150% return on investment. Every single dollar you make after that is pure profit. So in reality, return on investment is infinite. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that helps. What are you guys seeing on average as far as first year owners who go into this program as far as revenue?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, usually I would say if you can get 10 clients in your first year, assuming you haven't done this before, you're not like currently providing tax prep to anybody. Like if you're brand new and you get 10 clients your first year, I think you've done a pretty good job. And usually for those you charge, you're charging about $150 for the return. So 10 times basically 105, because you have to take 70% of that, is about $1,000. It doesn't sound like a lot of money, but believe it or not, you're building a business, something that you started with nothing anyway. So your first year, there's some learning. Now we do have more advanced marketing training now, where we talk a lot more specifically about how to market. So with that being said, I could say that if like making $1,000 in your first year is going to be pretty easy, and you're going to be able to do that. Now in your second year, right? Your second year, once you've established that reputation as a tax preparer, once you've had, knowledge, once you've become comfortable on how to get clients, I would say in your second year, if you didn't get at least 50 clients by your second year, then that would be a problem. So then you would ramp up, and at that point, your average would be at about $250 a tax return. So let's just do this. 50 times 250 is $12,500 times, let's just say, 75%, 0.75. So that's almost about $10,000 that you would make in your second year, assuming you only had 50 clients. And those were usually just individual clients. Now, if you got business clients, now you're talking business clients, the average that our business client pays is $500. So let's just say even if 25 of those were business clients, 25 times 500 times 0.75, that's $10,000 off just the business clients alone. And the next year, like basically, you should be at least tripling in size every single year. So this is a business where the first year will be a struggle. I struggled my first year, but you're going to struggle less because we're going to give you the tools and the resources in order to be very, very successful. So it might take time, but this is a high profit industry, and this is something that can truly turn into something much bigger. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers the question.
All right, cool. Yeah, and in some cases too, we might actually give you clients. Like in a case where you're very, very good and proficient at taxes, I might say, hey, here's a batch of 5 clients. We'll pay you. Usually that one we do a 50-50 split. So I'll give you the clients, you prepare the taxes, do everything, and then once the client pays, you get a 50% cut. So some folks are doing that, but appreciate the question though. We got Perry here who said, Jeff, will you be double checking returns, and will you be available to assist if we have a question, and what times will you be available? So the answer to the first question is no, I do not double check every single return that everybody prepares, unless you specifically request me to. If you request me to check a return, I would absolutely do it for you, 100%, no matter what. At least your first return, I think it should be double checked. So I'll be able to do that. We also have team members that can help you with that. I will be 100% always available for questions, no matter what, even if it's, whether it's a silly question, a great question, a 5-minute question, an hour-long question, no matter what times am I available. I'm available 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time every day, basically, except for Sundays. Sundays, I don't really work. Sunday is my day off. I don't do any business, any work, anything like that. Just, I believe that Sunday should be meant as a day to rest and to, worship and all that good stuff. So I'm pretty much available all day, every day. During tax season, I'm in the office 95% of the time. It's cold here in Chicago. So I'm cranking it out. I'm cranking out tax returns. I'm answering phone calls. I'm doing a lot at that time, but I'm still able to answer any question. And then we have team members who are experienced enough to be able to answer any questions. So hopefully that answers your question, Perry. So we got some time for more questions. Remember, you can shout out your question, or you can put it in the chat box. This will be recorded, so you'll have access to the recording. If you missed any information or anything of that nature, if you're ready to get started, you can just shoot me a message saying, hey, I'm ready for the next steps, and I'll be able to send it to you. Tax season is just about 2 months away. So this is an opportunity to really do something big here. And by the way, one of my contractors, his first year, he did about 50 clients. You know, he was a mover and a shaker, but he had been doing taxes for about 8 years before he joined the firm. And he did 50 clients. He brought in 50 clients his first year, second year about 250, and now he's probably going to do 500 easily next year. You know, in his third year in the firm. And just so you see some numbers on that, he usually charges on average about 400. So 500 clients times 400, that's $200,000, right? And he's going to be at 85%. That's $170,000 in his pocket that he didn't even spend any money, maybe other than marketing and all that good stuff to acquire. So this is an opportunity to do something really, really big here. You know, we're not talking small scale. We're not talking potatoes. We're not talking pennies. We're talking some pretty large sums of money. There's no cap to how much money you can make. It's simply the more clients you can get, the better. And by the way, this is not a network marketing company or anything like that. So if you came here for that reason, sorry about that. But this is not a company where you get paid to bring in agents and contractors and all that. You only get paid if you produce tax returns and you get clients. You know, that's the only way to get paid in the company, unless you become a partner of the company where you're more strategic and you have your own, you know, you develop a subsidiary of the company at that point, and you run your own team, your own operations and everything. That one has a separate compensation structure. But this is not one of those companies where you're getting paid just to bring in a lot of people. No. This is about providing high quality service to clients and to be able to make sure that their taxes are being done correctly and securely. Any other questions? We still got about 13 more minutes. You know, if no other questions, of course, we can wrap it up. But anyone have any question? It doesn't matter what kind of question it is. Please feel free to shout it out. All right, let's see. Yep, so we'll leave about 2 more minutes. If no questions come in, we'll just wrap up the presentation. Thank you guys for joining. Definitely appreciate you guys. It means a lot when you're able to take time out of your day to dedicate to this, you know. And if you're looking to move forward, just please let me know, and we'll be able to get the process going. So we'll leave about another minute or so for questions. If no questions come in, we'll just wrap it up. And I'm always available for any follow-up questions. You know, you can feel free to reach out to me. You know, Facebook, phone call, text message, email, whatever it is, just reach out and I'll be able to answer any questions you have. All right, so it doesn't sound like we'll have any questions, so we'll end the recording at 7:48 p.m. Central Time.